Texas football loses their third straight Red River Showdown. Texas soccer dominates Kansas State 7-0, and the Lakers clinch their 17th NBA championship. All this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Yeah, let's do this.
And their men's basketball team need to stop those distancing themselves from fans.
But now it has been overdone to death. Playing, don't stop believing.
Bye-bye, Bucks. Bye-bye, Raptors.
All right, let's get to it. Welcome into College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jaxie Pidgeon, and it looks like tonight's show is going to be a good one. Let's introduce tonight's panel. On first base, we have Daniel Shih for the first time this semester. How are you, Daniel?
I'm doing good. How are you? Happy birthday, Jaxie.
Thank you. And Daniel's, tuning in from Taiwan, so really happy to have you. On second base, Henry Corwin. How are you, Henry?
I think I'm doing pretty good. Just like Daniel said, happy birthday, Jaxie. I am here ready to go back to back.
Love to hear it. And on third base, we have Adam Ogburn. Adam, how are you?
Doing great. Excited to debate some sports tonight. There we go. And happy birthday to you, Jaxie.
Thanks, y'all. All right. Before we get started, we're going to award some of our panelists some extra points. So first up, Adam, you're going to start off with an extra point because of your stellar background. And Daniel, you're going to get a point because of your homemade hype video that you shared on your social media accounts today. It was so solid, very representative of what we've been going through in 2020. So let's get to it. This past Saturday, Texas football couldn't quite get the job done against the Oklahoma Sooners in Dallas. With what will be remembered as one of the craziest games in the Red River Showdown history, this game had several momentum changes and went into 4 overtimes. Texas's fourth quarter comeback looked promising. Texas was down 14 with under 5 minutes to play and were able to square up the game with 14 seconds left in the quarter. They played it safe, sending out Dicker to kick the field goal for the tie. But should Texas have gone for 2 at the end of regulation? Daniel, go ahead and start us off.
Well, to me, that question can easily been flipped if they didn't make this, if they go for 2 when they don't make the play, and you can easily ask the opposite question. So I'm not sure if they shouldn't have gone for 2. And if you're the favorites to win the game, technically they're 2.5 points underdogs. But if you have a senior quarterback on your side and a much more senior team than Oklahoma, who's in the middle of their rebuild, Texas being primed who should be winning this game and primed to be good this season, you're not the underdog. You should be making the game a little bit longer and let your team go out to win the game rather than putting everything on a 2-point conversion play, which as we saw later, this offense is not as well boiled for you to expect them to score every single time or 100% of the time when they're on the 2-yard line or the 3-yard line. The second 2-point conversion is at. So no, I agree with the call to go into overtime.
Sure, play it safe. Henry, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Daniel. They should not have gone for 2 at the end of regulation. And the reason for that is because they had all the momentum going into overtime. They were down 14 points. They had a 14-point comeback. Their defense made the stops they needed to make. So they had momentum to carry it into overtime. Now, you can make the argument, well, they had momentum. They could just carry that into the 2-point conversion and use them. But that's one play. It's a risky play. I think that given the momentum they had and the fact that their defense was starting to make some timely stops, I don't think they made the wrong decision to just go for overtime.
Henry also playing it safe. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to complete the trio here. I think you can Monday morning quarterback this all you want, but at the end of the day, Texas has an experienced senior quarterback in Sam Ehlinger who has continually performed in the clutch this year, while OU has an inexperienced Spencer Rattler who made several key mistakes in the game. So I think you have to put your money on Ehlinger being able to go head-to-head with Rattler in overtime and be able to lead his offense over OU. So, it didn't work out in the end, But I think, as Daniel said, as essentially the favorites, as the ranked team, I think Texas made the smart decision going to overtime and letting the game play out there.
Yeah, I agree with all those points. All of y'all are going to start out with 3 points. I think Daniel mentioned, just if they would have gone for 2 and not done it, then everyone would have been upset too. So could have gone either way. Playing it safe, I think, was the right call for Herman too. So all of y'all will start off with 3 points. Saturday's Red River rivalry meeting was a very high-scoring game, as well as an extremely long one. Never in series history has the game ever gone into quadruple overtime and taken a whole 4 hours and 43 minutes to crown a champion. Some even called this the 2020 of football games. Although Texas had an impressive late comeback, the negative outweighed the positive. Team captains were getting penalties, Ellinger threw interceptions, tackles were missed, fumbles were made, field goals were blocked, the list goes on. Who deserves the most blame for this Texas loss? Henry?
This is a tough question because it's really hard to point the finger at one person or one group of people. Outside of a certain punter deciding to take about 25 steps before he punted the football, I think if you're going to put the blame somewhere, I think you're going to have to stick it on the defense. And I hate saying that because it's hard, but the bottom line is the defense, they made the timely stops at the end of the fourth quarter to get their team back in it. But in overtime, they just couldn't do anything to stop the bleeding. They gave up touchdowns in every overtime. And then the fourth overtime, they gave a touchdown and the 2-point conversion. So they really needed to make those timely stops when it mattered. And they just kind of ran out of gas and could not make those stops. So if I'm going to place it somewhere, I think I have to place it on the defense.
Sure. They just couldn't rise to the occasion when they needed to most. Just when you can't get out early and make the stops, it's not going to help in the long run. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got to say the special teams was brutal again this week. You had the blocked punt, like Henry said, that led directly to a touchdown. They had another punt where it led to a 40-yard return by OU, and then Ryan Buchevsky gets a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and then you have the blocked field goal in overtime. And so kind of looking at that, I think coaching staff has to take a big part of the blame of this too because of the lack of discipline the Longhorns showed not only this week, but throughout the season. A lot of unnecessary penalties. We saw Derek Kersetter pick up a 15-yard unnecessary roughness that moved the Longhorns back from the OU2 to the OU17, making them settle for a field goal. We saw Buchevsky's 15-yard penalty, 10 penalties for 86 yards. The coaching staff has to get this team to have more discipline moving forward.
Yes, lots of unnecessary penalties. Very good point. Daniel, what do you think?
I think you guys got it wrong. The offense deserves the blame here, and look at the last 3 games for UT in the second half. The offense are the one that we agree that the last 3 games has been are underperforming games for Texas, and the offense is the major key of that for all 3 games, including the Oklahoma game. And you look at the time of possession. Look, we talk about the Big 12's defenses are not great. But at the end of the day, for the TCU game, the defense put the offense in a position to win. The offense did not execute. And in the Oklahoma game, the time of possession, this is a team that needs the offense to hold on to the ball. And they lost the time of possession battle to a freshman quarterback at Oklahoma. And if you think about that coming into the season, Sam Ellinger being the senior quarterback had started for 4 years. He's not a guy that started in his junior year or is his first year starting in Texas. He's a 4-year fourth year starting quarterback at Austin in the University of Texas and lost to a freshman quarterback. I can't. This has to be on the offense here.
Yeah, it's the blame could be put, many places, but I think I'm going to have to go with Adam on this one. Special teams definitely needs a boost for discipline. It's just a matter of, those penalties. We haven't been seeing like that many penalties called on other teams recently. And so I think, obviously there was a lot of different momentum swings in this game, but I think that also could be a role in how they're, it's affecting their play too. It just gets them down. So Adam, you're going to get 3, Daniel 2, Henry and 1. Next up, Texas clearly didn't have the outcome that they expected this weekend. However, some teams may have walked out happy. This Texas team came into Saturday's matchup ranked number 22 in the AP poll and has since dropped out of the top 25. Their loss also lessened their chances of making it to the Big 12 championship game in December. Out of all the other teams in college football, which team benefited the most from Texas's loss to Oklahoma? Adam?
Yeah, I've got to go up to Stillwater and go with the Oklahoma State Cowboys with the amount of talent they have on offense with quarterback Spencer Sanders, electric running back Chuba Hubbard, and star receiver Tylan Wallace. With Texas and Oklahoma both having 2 losses in the opening 3 games of Big 12 play, the door is wide open for someone to come and take it. And I think if you look at the top 3 right now, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, I think the Cowboys, with the amount of talent they have on offense, are best positioned to take advantage of that. So I'd look for Oklahoma State now to be the front runner in the Big 12 moving forward this season.
All right, Adam's got OSU. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Adam here. I think Oklahoma State, is the only team that has a chance in the college football playoff, knowing that they really just pick teams not only on record but just based on reputation. And Oklahoma State, out of Kansas State, Iowa State, and themselves have the best reputation, knowing what their record in the last couple of years. But also Kansas State with their win against Oklahoma, and now Oklahoma beating Texas. Until Kansas State faces Texas, that win against OU is going to look very good for a good amount of time.
Sure, both good contenders. Henry, what do you think?
Well, when this question was originally posed to me, it just said who benefited the most from the Texas loss. So my original answer was Texas fans, because now they don't have to get their hopes up for the entire season just for their hearts to be broken at the end like they always are. But if I have to give you a team, I'm going to say Baylor, because Baylor's next on the schedule for Texas, and all the pressure now is on Texas. God knows what's going to be written about this team if they drop another game next week, especially in Austin. And Baylor's eyeing for that Big 12 title. I don't think any team in the Big 12 is going to make the college football playoff. So if we're talking about winning the Big 12 title, I think this could look good for Baylor, because they can get the win next week against Texas, and they'll be off to the races.
Sure. And yeah, this question could have been taken any number of ways, but I do think that I like your Texas point, just because it kind of gave us a preview into, the future. And like you said, not to get your hopes up, but there's still games being left to play to just lessen the hopes a little bit. So Henry, you're going to get 3, Daniel 2, and Adam 1. When we come back, the panel discusses Texas soccer and the 2020 NBA champions. You won't want to miss it.
Sports Show,
the premier sports talk show on the 40 acres. We're back.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. Before we get started, let's take a look at the scoreboard. Leading this show, we have Daniel and Adam tied with 8 points, and Henry right behind them at 7 points.
First of all, sorry, Jaxie, before you go on, if you watch the Want to Know Sports ad right there, I take full responsibility for Texas going 1 for 2 by saying we're back before the season started.
You hate to see it. All right, let's jump right back in. This past Friday, Texas soccer dominated at home, taking down the Kansas State Wildcats 7-0. Records were set for both teams. Texas's 7 goals in this game were the program's most in Big 12 regular season match since 2003 when they beat Texas Tech 7-0. And for Kansas State, this loss was their record worst in their 5-year program history. The Longhorns were 1-3 and headed into this matchup, not scoring more than 1 goal in any of those matches. In this match, all 7 of Texas's goals were scored by different players. Was this just a lucky game for the Longhorns, or was Kansas State just that awful? Daniel, why don't you lead us off?
Well, I don't think Kansas State is particularly awful. I think the program, being the first year being in 2016 is just a young program that needs time to develop. They only have 2 Big 12 wins in the history of their program. So are they, are they particularly awful in this instance? I don't think so. I just think is a talent gap between a team that's, between a Texas team and a team that, is very early in its infancy in terms of development. And did everybody expect the game to be 7-0? No, but I don't think a win at home versus Kansas State is a shocker to everybody.
Sure, a very young program in battling against a very tenured program. Henry, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Daniel makes some really good points there. But I don't think Kansas State's offense knows where they are right now. So they're 0-4 to start the season. They have not scored a single goal. No, I'm sorry. They've scored 1 goal this season. So their offense just needs to find a way to start clicking. I know there's a talent gap, like Daniel said, but for them to get on any kind of roll, they have to find a way to get that offense going.
Sure. And like you said, not scoring. I mean, Texas kind of came out too, and they hadn't scored more than 1 goal. Like I said, before coming into this game, they, sometimes they were scoreless. So it's all a matter of getting points on the board. So that's a good point. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Daniel and Henry make a great point about the talent gap. But I think credit has to go to Texas women's soccer team for actually exploiting that talent gap. We see too many times in sports that teams play down to the level of their opposition, and the women didn't do that on Friday. Once they got that 3rd goal by Julia Grosso in the 59th minute, they kept their foot on the pedal, and they really opened up the floodgates. And so they'd only scored 2 goals heading into this game in total in Big 12 play. And so to get 7 in 1 match has to be a huge confidence boost and a huge boost of momentum moving forward in Big 12 play now for the Longhorns.
Yeah, Adam, you're going to get the points on this one. Texas took advantage of that opportunity. It's one of those things where, like I was just mentioning, they were either not scoring anything or scoring 1 goal, and they haven't won much either. So, I mean, to be able to beat a team 7-0, that's just kind of unheard of in college soccer and pro soccer and any soccer. You just don't do that. And so for that difference to be that extreme is pretty insane. So Adam, you're going to get the points. On Sunday, the Dallas Cowboys were able to grab their 2nd win of the season, taking down the New York Giants 37-34. However, they still had a big loss during this game. With 6 minutes and 33 seconds left in the 3rd, Giants free safety Logan Ryan awkwardly tackled Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott on a 9-yard run. The on-site medical staff quickly rushed to him and carted him off the field. Tears in his eyes and a fist in the air, Prescott suffered a compound right ankle fracture, ending his 2020 season. Although the Cowboys' record isn't very reflective of it, Prescott has recorded some incredible numbers for this team. How big of an impact is losing Dak for Dallas? Henry?
I really hate to say this, but I think this is a blessing in disguise for the Cowboys franchise, and I'm going to tell you why. So first of all, if we're talking about this season specifically, Andy Dalton is a very capable backup quarterback. He was a starter in Cincinnati for a long time. This is his first year as a backup, so he's probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. So for this season specifically, I think Andy Dalton can hold down the fort. Now, the reason I say it's a blessing in disguise for the franchise is because this Dak Prescott contract situation has been looming over their heads for what seems like an eternity. And this injury now, it gives the Cowboys front office the leverage in negotiating this contract. Is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. But the bottom line is now Dak is not going to be able to demand as much money as he was because with his injury, the ball's in the Cowboys. It's in their court now. So I think Dak's demanding price might have to drop a little bit, and they'll eventually be able to come to an agreement on a lower price.
Gotcha. And great point about Andy Dalton too. I mean, for him to be a backup, that's a pretty solid backup to have. So good point there. Adam?
Yeah, I think Henry's point shows exactly why NFL players, they always try to get every dollar out of their contract that they can in negotiating, because you never know when the next play could be your last. But looking at this year, I don't think it'll hurt them as much because they have the presence of Zeke Elliott, who they can rely on in the run game, and the amount of talent that Dalton will have around him with Michael Gallup, with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper, with Dalton Schultz, with Cedric Wilson. He's a lot of weapons in the passing game for him to take advantage of, and he's been a tenured starter in the NFL for the past 9 seasons. I think the Cowboys' worry should be more on their defense, which has been atrocious through the opening weeks, than what should be going on with their offense moving forward.
Atrocious. Like I said, it's hard to be a Cowboys fan right now. Daniel, what do you think?
It's hard to be a fan of many teams right now, but I agree. I think Henry and Adam made the points that I was going to make. First of all, if you're the Cowboys, the only thing Andy Dalton probably takes away from compared to Dak Prescott is he's not as good as a running quarterback than Dak Prescott. So, but then you still have all the weapons on that offense, and compared to the rest of the NFC East with the quarterback situations unclear in Washington versus Daniel Jones and a Carson Wentz, who are right now looks less reliable than Andy Dalton. I think the Cowboys still have the best quarterback in the NFC East. That being said, again, like Henry said, I think the biggest loser in this situation is Dak Prescott because of the contract situation. And you look at the Cowboys, Jerry Jones. I'm not saying he will love his players to be hurt or anything like that, but he's certainly probably not the saddest person in that stadium when Dak Prescott hurt his ankle.
Right. All of y'all made fair points, but Daniel, you're going to get the points on this one. Like you said, I mean, the Cowboys are still prepared on offense if they perform well, but that's just with any team. But when you're handed Andy Dalton, experienced guy as well, obviously, he doesn't play the same game as Dak, but still has some great stuff in him. But yes, the defense also needs to pick up. It's kind of a full circle thing. They all need to come together. But Daniel, you're going to get the points in this one. Next up, the 2020 NBA champions have finally been crowned. This past Sunday, the Lakers sealed the deal, taking down the Heat 106-93. This is the Lakers' 17th NBA title and LeBron James' 4th. In this game, James had 28 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists in his 41 minutes on the court. He is the only player in NBA history to rank top 10 all-time in points and assists, and the only player to win 3 Finals MVP awards with 3 different teams. He won 2 Finals MVPs with the Heat in 2012 and 2013, one with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016, and a 4th on Sunday with the Lakers. Has LeBron cemented himself as the greatest of all time? Adam, what do you think?
I'll make this distinction. LeBron has done more with less than any other player has. He carried Cleveland on his back several years in the Eastern Conference. And the victory of the Cavaliers, Cleveland's first title in 52 years back in 2016, I think means more to any city than any other accomplishment. But if you're looking on the basketball court explicitly, I think you have to go with Michael Jordan still having the edge in this GOAT race. He had 6 NBA titles. He had 2 3-peats, and he went to play baseball in the middle of that. And his ability to perform in the clutch with the Bulls. He had 2 buzzer beaters that ended NBA playoff series. And he also hit a buzzer beater in Game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz. All of LeBron's buzzer beaters have come before the NBA Finals, So I think Michael Jordan's untarnished record in the NBA Finals, a 6-0 record, and his ability to perform in the clutch will give him a slight edge over LeBron.
All right, Adam's got MJ. I mean, that debate's never ending. MJ, LeBron, forever. Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, Jaxie, until Michael Jordan and LeBron James and some sort of biotech craziness happens and they play each other during their prime, and even if LeBron wins, there will be people advocating for Michael Jordan. But a lot of people's biggest knock against LeBron James is the lack of they don't when he was in the Eastern Conference, he had the easier path to the NBA Finals than a lot of Western Conference teams. And this year, that doesn't help with the narrative, knowing that his path to the NBA Finals has been met with some of the teams that you could say, we're not like the biggest teams or the most competitive teams that LeBron could face. So on that front, that doesn't help LeBron. And second of all, you can argue all you want about LeBron James winning a championship on his third team. Listen, I bring you the debate between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo has won championships in 3 different teams in 3 different countries, but does that mean he's better than Lionel Messi? No, and that debate is nowhere clear from being over. So yeah, I don't think LeBron James has the edge over Michael Jordan just yet.
All right. No, he does not have the edge from Daniel. Henry, what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, people that know me usually know where I stand. Now, here's the thing. I don't have a problem with people saying MJ's the GOAT. I don't. My problem is that the arguments that they use for MJ being the GOAT are not good arguments. So Adam actually brought up 2 of the main arguments that people use, is that Jordan is undefeated in the finals and LeBron has 6 finals losses on his resume. I know Adam didn't say that, but that's what a lot of people say. And the clutchness of Michael Jordan. Yes, Michael Jordan was very clutch. If you look at the numbers, LeBron James is a very clutch player too. I don't know where this narrative started in 2011 when he lost to the Dallas Mavericks. Ever since then, LeBron has been a perfectly clutch player. I don't understand this narrative that he's not a clutch player. Now, when you talk about the 6 finals losses, on LeBron's resume, let's ignore the fact that in 4.5 to 5 of those 6 finals losses, LeBron was heavily overmatched. He's been a favorite 2 times in his career in the finals. The Dallas series that he lost, obviously that wasn't good, and this past series against the Heat. Every other final series, he was not the favorite, okay? And the idea that LeBron, who has made, this would be 10 finals, but lost 6 of them, the fact that that goes against his legacy. What you're doing is you are punishing LeBron for winning a bunch of playoff series and making the finals. Being 4-6 in the finals is better than being 4-0. Because if he was 4-0, that means he loses to the Indiana Pacers in the first round or the Boston Celtics with Isaiah Thomas. That makes him better than making to the finals and losing to a superior team. No. So to me, LeBron is the GOAT. And to people that say Jordan's the GOAT, that's fine. But if you're going to say Jordan's the GOAT, use a good argument. Don't give me this 6 finals losses BS.
Very passionate about that, Henry. I do think that LeBron is an extremely talented player. But I think this debate is never ending. And, it's going to be hard to, to Daniel's point, how they're going to, finally figure it out, mosh it out with some technology or something. But I don't know if we can necessarily say that he has become the greatest basketball player of all time, just because, that you can't, they were at different times. And Henry, to your, positives, I think that, Daniel's laughing up there, but I think that LeBron is one of the greatest players to play basketball ever. But Daniel, you're going to get the points on this one just because there is still no way to settle this debate. And I don't think that 4th finals win was the one that sealed the deal for LeBron. Coming up next, it's rapid fire here on College Crossfire. You won't want to miss it.
Men's basketball looks for a key win against Iowa State. Women's basketball is tested against the number 2 team in the nation.
The Longhorns had a dominant pitching performance in the latter half of the game, led by Pete Hansen.
I get to say some of the most exciting words in football. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. And picking for
Texas started the 3rd with the lead and continued to gain momentum on defense.
Hello and welcome into the first social distancing college press box ever.
You're watching a live sports presentation of Texas Student Television.
It's a lovely evening in Austin. Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies. This is a rivalry game, high intensity, high scoring. Puck drop, we're off. Both of these teams are very fast. Big collision on the wall there. Now a little advantage for Texas. Shot in the middle.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. It's time for rapid fire. In this round, points are worth double, and that means it's anybody's game. Before we jump back in, let's take a look at the scoreboard. In first place, we have Daniel with 10 points. Second place, Adam with 9 points. And third place, Henry with 7 points. Let's jump in. In late August, the NCAA Board of Governors approved a measure that grants an extra year of eligibility to all fall sports athletes. This followed the extension for spring 2020 athletes whose seasons were also cut short due to COVID-19. In Texas's case, Sam Ehlinger could be the star of the show for 2 more seasons if he wanted. Most top college quarterbacks head to the NFL following their senior season or sometimes even before. Ehlinger isn't slated to be a first-round pick for the 2021 draft, so should he take his chances to go pro or come back for his super senior season? If you were Sam Ehlinger, would you come back for a 5th year? Anyone can jump in.
Listen, I'm going to speak directly to Sam Ehlinger, who's watching this right now. I'm going to talk right to the camera. Please come back. Please come back. If you come back, I'll come back as well. And listen, I'm paying $30,000 in tuition for 2 semesters as an international student, and I wouldn't mind spending that money if you come back. Please come back. Please come back.
Sam, I hope you heard that. Daniel had a private message to you.
Well, the question was, if I was Sam, would I come back for a 5th year? I don't know. I mean, I think Sam has. I mean, listen, Sam will always be my quarterback. I mean, he's the same age as me. He's been the starter all my years in college. But when he retires, I think I retire. I mean, when I retire, he should retire too from Texas. So I wouldn't come back.
You don't have to retire though. You can stay for 1 more year like I am if he comes back.
And win us another season. Yeah, okay.
So Henry, if you take a 5th year, Sam should also take a 5th year. But that's only you guys have
only I make the call.
Yeah, you have to coordinate. Okay, got it.
Right.
Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I love Sam Ehlinger. I know his blood bleeds burnt orange, but I think you have to go pro. I think after seeing guys like Dak, see what happened to Dak Prescott this season, you never know when you might suffer an injury. So when he still has the chance to go pro and get drafted, in a decent round and make a decent amount of money and have a chance at a professional career, I don't think you chance that for a 5th year of college.
Sure. And I mean, like I said before in the intro, I mean, he's not going to be a first-round pick, but he doesn't necessarily not have potential to be on a roster in the NFL. Like, that's not besides the question. But I'm going to give Daniel the points on this one. Daniel, I think that he can be a hometown hero again. I mean, may as well take advantage of it while he can, because I mean, he's not going to be the starter for anything, so may as well be the starter where he's loved the most.
Got to send that to Sam. Needs to be sent to Sam.
I'll DM him later, make sure he hears. All right, moving right along. After the NBA season was shut down in early March, there was a lot of uncertainty regarding how the rest of the season would look. They decided on a bubble environment at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. From the first day players arrived in early July to the end this past Sunday, players, coaches, and staff spent over 100 days in the Orlando bubble. Now that the Lakers have added another win to their franchise and the 2019-2020 NBA season is over, what should the NBA do with the Disney bubble now? Anyone can jump in.
Let it breathe. Let the bubble breathe a little bit. You don't, you can't. Everything's got to breathe for a second. You shut everything down, and you shut that down from the outside world for 100 days. And now sometimes the bed of the hotel wants somebody else to be in it, not the same player for another 100-something days. So let it breathe. Let somebody else in. And if the NBA wants to start the season in a couple of months, you can still get your people in there and then clean it up again. You don't have to close it down and prevent Disney from doing their own business for that 2-month gap.
So by wanting it to breathe, do you mean you want other people to be there, or you want it to have no one in it?
No, I let it breathe, meaning what's the problem with opening it up again if you can clean it and do the same thing as you did back in when did they start? Back in May and June. Just let it breathe, let people in.
Change of scenery. Scenery. Gotcha. Who else?
Yeah, I think they could very well go and turn this into like a tourist attraction. Give people inside the bubble. Give them a look, kind of where the courts were, where the players were staying, where Russell Westbrook and James Harden were going fishing at. So I think it'd be a great opportunity for people to see inside the bubble.
Make it like a nice new tourist attraction. What Florida needs the most, more of those.
I mean, Adam stole my answer. That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, this is a historic site now. This is historic. You can see these are the courts they played. This was LeBron's hotel room. This was Jamal's hotel room when he broke the bubble and let a girl in. Did Jamal do that? Jamal Murray, I think. Someone did that. This is a historic site now. And you, like Adam said, yeah, make it a tourist attraction. I would love to go.
All right. Well, since you stole Adam's answer, Adam, you're going to get the points on this one. I think they should, make it that tourist attraction just because, I mean, like both of y'all were explaining, like who wouldn't want to go see what it actually entailed? Like I would want to see it. What does it have to offer? What's so impressive about it or unimpressive about it? So great points, all those. And yes, Daniel, also that could be part of it. Like if you were to stay in the hotel, you could be a nice tourist attraction too.
This is the bed LeBron slept in. You can use it right here.
Maybe, shoot a couple hoops while you're there as well.
Yeah. The second best player of all time.
Of the night. After the Lakers were named the 2020 champions on Sunday, the University of Texas also took pride in the victory as they had a former player on the winning team. Lakers guard Avery Bradley played for the Longhorns during the 2009-2010 season. When the NBA suspended play, Bradley opted out of the season due to health concerns of his young son. However, he was still offered the ring. Bradley is the 6th former Texas player to win an NBA championship. Besides Avery Bradley, who are the other 5 former Texas stars to hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy? Raise your hand and when you list one player at a time, and you'll receive a point for each player.
I have no idea.
Oh, pick me.
Henry.
Tristan Thompson.
Okay, Adam.
Kevin Durant.
Is that it? That's all we got, guys?
Mo Bamba?
Negative.
Did Corey Joseph win one?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Corey Joseph?
Yes.
Jared Allen? I'm just spitballing here. Jared Allen?
Aldridge didn't win one. DJ Augustine.
Cohen Roach? No, he hasn't.
DJ Tucker.
I have no idea.
Are we out of ideas?
It's definitely someone else on the Spurs, is it not?
Danny Green?
Or there was someone that used to play for the Heat, I think. I forget. Isaiah Taylor. I don't know.
You're missing 2.
Were they like impact players, or were they just like? Did they just ride the bench?
Tucker? I don't know. I don't think he has one.
All right.
Was there an Isaiah something? I don't know.
All right. I think we're running out of steam here. Y'all said so. It was Dexter Pittman in 2012 and Slater Martin in the 50s. So that being said,
I should have known that.
I have no idea who they are.
Yes. Back in the 50s, you have to know some Texas history. But Adam got the most correct, and that also gives him the win. So, Adam, congratulations on the win. That being said, it's time for FaceTime. Take it away.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to family watching back home in Houston. And talking about Houston, I want to give a props to the Texas owners for making the tough decision to fire Bill O'Brien after seeing him as a GM decimate the roster, trading away Hawkins and Clowney and a bunch of their draft capital. It's great to see the Texans make that move and hopefully make the most of Deshaun Watson's prime.
Love to hear it. Thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. And thank you for tuning into tonight's episode of College Crossfire. Before we go, I would like to remind you that early voting in Texas goes from now until October 30th, and Election Day is November the 3rd. Don't forget to follow us on social media at TSTV Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Lastly, be sure to wake up with the 1-0 Sports Show Friday mornings at 10 a.m. From all the panelists in our virtual studio and our virtual master control, I'm Jaxie Pidgeon. Have a wonderful night.